where chaos met order, love clashed with war, when God shaped the Nile and the stars. Egypt's pantheon told the story of humanity itself. From Ra's blazing sun to Anubis' silent scales, from Hathor's joy to Sekhmen's fury, each god carried a piece of the cosmic puzzle. Now, for the first time, myths unite. The gods of Egypt are more than legends. They are builders, judges, and warriors. 12 gods, 12 gods, 12 stories, one epic video. Welcome to Egypt's complete 12-god saga. Have you ever wondered where the sun comes from? Well, for the Egyptians, it was the mighty sun god, Ra. Ra wasn't just the god of the sun. He also ruled over kingship, the sky, and also Egypt in the beginning. They believe he was the very first pharaoh. And he, as that pharaoh, he also reigned over the heavens and the underworld. That is amazing. Like, he was a pharaoh of everything. And, well, I guess he still would be. And he even fused with some other gods on some occasions. He was shown with a falcon head, usually, sharing traits with Horus, and sometimes fusing with him. And it was called Ra Harakti, or Ra Horus of the Two Horizons. And then later, when Amun rose, they fused again to become Amun-Ra. And they were supreme deity of the New Kingdom of Egypt. In Heliopolis, Ra was worshipped through the Mnevis pool. I'm going to put the name on the screen because I don't know how to pronounce it for real. Living embodiment of his power, and he is honored with sacred burials and stuff. All life was said to come from Ra himself. And that's why Egyptians call themselves the cattle of Ra, because Ra is also a bull. But as time passed, Ra grew weary of ruling on Earth, and he decided to ascend to the skies to reign there. And he carries the sun across the sky in his sun bark. And at sunset, he passes to the horizon into the underworld. There, he transforms into a ram-headed god and sails to the 12 gates of the underworld every night and fights the serpent Apophis. And Apophis is trying to get Ra to stop his journey and end the sun cycle. By day, he rode in a manjit bark in falcon form. By night, he was in a mesket bark, carried him through the darkness until daytime. His legacy was a very good one. The sun gave life, ripened crops, and warmed the earth. And to the Egyptians, he was the creator, giver of life, and the king of the gods. And he also appeared in pop culture, most famously in the King Chronicles, although that depiction is as a senile old man, prove that even gods in that universe can age. What happens after death? For the ancient Egyptians, the answer was clear. Osiris had a hand in it. The green-skinned god of the underworld, judge of souls, and the ruler of eternity. Osiris wasn't just the god of death. He embodied rebirth, agriculture, and the eternal cycle of life. Egyptians believed that every sprout and every grain was proof of Osiris's power, life rising from decay. Osiris's story is also one of betrayal, though. His brother, Set, god of chaos, well, god of evil and chaos, jealous of his throne, tricked him, and he put him into a coffin and sealed him away. Well, sealed it shut. And later, he broke the coffin and scattered Osiris's body parts across the earth. His wife, Isis, the mother of Horus, gathered the pieces and reassembled him and breathed life back into him. Well, except most of him, except his eggplant. This myth wasn't just a tale. It was the foundation of Egyptian kingship. Every pharaoh was seen as living Horus, descended from Osiris' eternal legacy. In the afterlife, Osiris sat upon the throne in the hall of Ma'at. There, he oversaw the weighing of the heart ceremony, but with the unfeathered truth, with Anubis as the guide of it. A heart heavy with sin was devoured by Amit, the devourer, and a pure heart was welcomed into the eternal field of reeds. Though Ra ruled over the sky, Osiris ruled the underworld. Together they formed a cosmic balance, and the journey through the Duat Ra's journey through the Duat brought him face to face with Osiris every day. Osiris' legend lives on today even, through the Cain Chronicles, where Julius Cain takes on the form of Osiris' host after his death. He sacrificed himself to anchor the god of the dead to the mortal world. Meanwhile, Amos, Julius' brother, becomes Set's host. Well, that's a story for another episode. The brothers locked in conflict reflects through generations, even in the Cain family. So, that's a whole nother video I can get into. But, from betrayal to resurrection, from grain to eternity, Osiris is the god that proves that death is never the end. When gods fall, who picks them up? For the Egyptians, the answer was Isis, the goddess of magic, healer, and protector, and also mother of Horus. Isis was more than a goddess. She was the embodiment of devotion and cunning. Egyptians revered her as the ultimate symbol, the ultimate sorceress, and the master of spells, who could bend reality and self, and her worship spread beyond Egypt, reaching Greece and Rome. When Set betrayed Osiris, she refused to accept defeat. She gathered his parts, minus and she scoured Egypt to find all these parts and put her husband back together with her magic. And then, once she came back, they conceived Horus, who we'll get into next episode. This act wasn't just a myth, it was a symbol of devotion and power, and proof that magic can help even death. And Isis raising Horus became a symbol of eternal motherhood, and she raised Horus to avenge his father's death. She once tricked Ra into revealing his secret name, which I'm not going to reveal here because it's mighted. And that proves her cunning in every myth. In Riordan's Kane Chronicles, Isis finds a modern vessel in Sadie Kane, daughter of Julius Kane, the host of Osiris, like I said earlier. She channels the magic, and with her sharp wit and rebellious streak, she perfectly matches the goddess' cunning nature. And just as she raised Horus to challenge Set, Sadie challenges Set herself, proving that the goddess of magic still thrives in the modern world. From shattered past to reborn gods, from secret names to unstoppable spells, Isis is the goddess who proves time and time again that love and magic are the greatest powers of all. When order reigns too long, chaos stirs beneath the surface. In ancient Egypt, that chaos had a name: Set. Set wasn't just a villain. He was the embodiment of disruption. Egyptians feared and respected him as the force of sandstorms, desert winds, and rebellion. His domain begins with the wild edge of civilization, the place where order breaks and transformations begin. Set's image evolved over time, sometimes shown with a mysterious animal head. What's that animal? It's called the Set animal. Yeah, that's pretty narcissistic. Name an animal after yourself. Which, that depiction is not how I envisioned him while reading the Kane Chronicles. I kind of envisioned him as Dormammu. You know, the Doctor Strange villain, the flaming head thing. Yeah, that's how I envisioned him. Yeah, I'll put a picture of Dormammu on screen and then put a picture of Set. Yeah, I didn't imagine that while I was reading until after, and I saw an image of Set. So that's kind of cool. But also, he could also be seen with a red beast with squared ears and a forked tail. Yeah. He was unlike any other god. Unpredictable, untamed, and also necessary in a way. That's interesting. But Set's most infamous act? Osiris. Yeah. He did that so he could steal the throne. He didn't just end Osiris. He took him apart. I don't use too much. Yeah. And he scattered all the pieces across Egypt with a cosmic betrayal. That plunged the world into imbalance. But Set wasn't done. He battled Horus for the throne and arrived with a rivalry that spanned generations. We'll get more into that next episode. Their fights were brutal, bizarre, and symbolic in a way. From boat races to courtroom trials, Set refused to back down. Set's strength wasn't just in strategy. It was in raw, brute force. He represented the unpredictable storms of life, the moments that shatter routine and demand resilience. Even when defeated by Horus, Set wasn't erased. He was absorbed into the cosmic balance and became the protector of Ra's ship. Yeah, remember that from episode 1? Yeah. Set, the god of chaos and evil, protected the Lord of Order in peace. What? Like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, that just blows my mind. He was Ra's faithful lieutenant for the rest of eternity. Like, that's insane. In the end, chaos wasn't destroyed. It was repurposed. So that became proof that even the wildest forces have a role in maintaining order. In the Kane Chronicles, Set returns to his villainous ways as the major antagonist, especially in Book 1. He possesses Amos Kane and becomes a central threat in the Red Pyramid, which is the first book in that series. If you want me to do a deep dive into that, I will gladly do that after the 12 days. Yeah. He's portrayed as a cunning, manipulated, and terrifying villain, but not purely evil. As the story unfolds, Carter and Sadie realize that Set's chaos is just part of the cosmic balance. Just like in myth, Set is the storm you must survive, not the enemy you can simply destroy. And also in that book, in one of the later books, it's shown that he's fighting alongside Amos as like helping them defeat Apophis, which that might be a good video to do later, going after Apophis, like the story of Apophis. So if you want that, leave a like. From betrayal to cosmic battles, from desert storms to solar protection, Set is the god who proves that chaos isn't the end. It's the beginning of a transformation. When chaos threatens the throne, who rises to restore order? For the Egyptians, that answer was Horus, the falcon-headed god, god of kingship, order, protector of justice, and the avenger of his father Osiris. We've actually talked about him in the past in Osiris's video, and it resulted in a blooper getting cut from this video, and yeah, just roll the blooper. His wife, Horus. Yep, I was trying to talk about Isis and saying the mother of Horus. I said, yeah. So, that's a funny blooper. And it's finally his turn in the spotlight. Horus was more than a warrior. He embodies divine kingship, and he's the living symbol of Egypt's rightful ruler. Egyptians saw him as a falcon soaring above Egypt, protecting it. Soaring way above the Nile, watching over all of Egypt. This image became the Eye of Horus, which I'll put on screen right now. And that is one of my favorite things ever. I might even get a pendant with that on it or something. My full image of protection, healing, and royal authority. And it endured for millennia. And after Set, took apart Osiris, and took control of the throne, Horus was raised by Isis to reclaim the throne and his father's legacy. They were fierce, and became one of the greatest rivalries in mythology history. Horus, the rightful heir, versus Set, the god of chaos. The battles were fierce, stretching across heaven and earth. In one tale, Horus lost his eye. It was later restored by Thoth, or Thoth. You have to look up that pronunciation because I've heard it different ways. That eye became a symbol of resilience, sacrifice, and divine justice. Horus's victories weren't just personal; it was cosmic, because after his win, he was now the god, or the king of the gods. Sorry. He restored balance and secured the throne of Egypt. And every pharaoh was considered the living embodiment of Horus's legacy, ruling with goddess authority. And his story declared that kingship was not just power, but responsibility and a duty to protect the order against chaos. In the Kane Chronicles by Rick Riordan, he found a modern vessel in Carter Kane, which is an interesting choice because Carter doesn't seem like the warrior type, but he later grows into it. And it's because of Horus's constant pushing for him to win. and their partnership mirrors the ancient myth. And Carter's reluctant to learn the balance of leadership because later on in the books, Carter becomes Pharaoh of Earth, while Horus becomes the divine ruler. So they're both on thrones, one dimension, one the other, but they're still connected. That is amazing. From falcon skies to royal thrones, from lost eyes to regain balance, Horus is the god who proves that vengeance can become justice, and kingship can become protection. When life ends, a new journey begins. No god shaped that journey more than Anubis, of the dead, master of mummification, and the silent judge of the human heart. Anubis wasn't a god of fear, as modern depictions depict him. He was a god of transition. Egyptians trusted him to guide them to the afterlife, the field of reeds. With the head of a jackal, an animal often seen near tombs, but he's a jackal, not a dog. Anubis symbolized vigilance, loyalty, and the thin line between decay and preservation. His role was precise and sacred. He oversaw mummification and guarded tombs and prepared the dead for judgment. Where other gods ruled storms or sunlight, Anubis ruled the quiet spaces of the tomb. Embalming table, and the scales of truth. Anubis' most iconic duty was the weighing of the heart ceremony. He placed the deceased's heart after ripping it out. He would place it on a scale of truth against the feather of Ma'at, M-A apostrophe A-T. I think it's pronounced Ma'at because that's how I hear it a bunch. So that's what I'm going with. But then if it was heavier than that, or if it was heavier, then that means that it was weighed down with sin. But if it was perfectly balanced, then that person got to go into the afterlife. He was the impartial force that showed who you truly are, because the feather could see past whatever lies you've told, and would reveal the truth of who you really were inside. In early Egypt, Anubis was the only god of death. However, when Osiris became the god of death, like we mentioned earlier, he stepped aside with dignity to become the ruler and protector, or the protector and guide, rather than the ruler. But this wasn't a demotion. It was a transformation. Anubis became the specialist, the guardian of the tomb, the one who ensured the dead reached Osiris. He was quiet with strength beyond the throne of the afterlife. In the Crane Chronicles, he's not depicted as an evil monster like most modern depictions. In fact, he's one of the people that gives Sadie Kane, one of the main characters, good advice. And also has this weird relationship with her because they both like each other. And he's a god, he's immortal, and she's a teenager. I think like 14. So, yeah, fun. But it gets crazier because in the second book, she finds another boyfriend, and then later on, he dies. and becomes the host of Anubis. Yep, that makes things a little more interesting for Sadie. Just in the myth, Anubis isn't loud or violent. He just snows in the storm. The guide who watches and weighs and protects. The embalming table to the scales of truth, and even to ancient tombs, to modern relationships. Anubis remains the god who guides us through the unknown. Ibis, a bird associated with clarity and precision. Thoth symbolizes intelligence, logic, and the power of language itself. His responsibilities were endless. He invented writing. He maintained the laws of the universe. He kept time. But he wasn't loud. He wasn't flashy. And he was a quiet force that made sure the universe didn't miss a deadline. So if you're about to miss a deadline, you better pray for Horus. Or pray to Thoth, sorry. Got mixed up. While Anubis weighed the heart during the weighing the heart ceremony, Thoth stood beside the scale with a papyrus scroll and a reed pen. He didn't interfere, he didn't argue, he simply recorded the truth of what happened. If the heart was heavy, he wrote it. If the heart was light and pure, then he wrote that too. Thoth wasn't the judge, just a witness. In a world where gods could be dramatic, impulsive, or downright chaotic, Thoth was the mediator, the diplomat, the one who could talk to the sun god and the chaos serpent of destroying the world itself. He didn't rule through power, he ruled through understanding and knowledge. One of his most infamous stories describes how he made the universe give us 5 extra days. He gambled with the moon god Khonshu, who I might do a video on after the series. And he outsmarted him and won 5 extra days so Nut could give birth to her 5 children. In the Kane Chronicles, Thoth appears to be eccentric, fast-talking, god of knowledge, believes in experiments a little too much. He's brilliant and he's chaotic in a science fair explosion kind of way. He's brilliant and he's constantly judging the cosmic responsibilities with the energy of a teacher who's been grading 1,000 or 10,000 essays at once. Just like in myth, he is the one who knows the rules and occasionally bends them when the universe needs a patch update. The invention of writing to the balance of the cosmos, from ancient scrolls to modern retellings, Thoth remains the god who keeps the universe running, one carefully written line at a time. When the world tilts towards chaos, something must pull it back into harmony, and no other character in Egyptian mythology symbolized that more than Ma'at. Ma'at wasn't worshipped for power. She was revered for the principles or rules that she kept in balance. Depicted with a single ostrich feather on her head, Ma'at represents clarity, fairness, and equilibrium for all. God, mortal, and spirit all depended on her. She wasn't just a goddess, she was a standard by which all actions were measured. Her most iconic symbol? The feather of truth. If you remember that from Anubis' video, then that is perfect, because her feather was used in that ceremony to weigh the heart, and if the heart was heavier, then it got devoured by Ammon, but if it was lighter, then they got to go to the reeds. She was the blueprint for all of Egyptian society. Pharaohs ruled in her name. Ra carried her across the sky, and even gods were bound by her laws. When Ma'at was upheld, the Nile flooded, crops grew, peace endured. When Ma'at was broken, chaos rose, storms, famine, and rebellion, and imbalance all happened. She was the quiet force behind every victory, every judgment, and everything else. In the King Chronicles, she isn't a god, but she is a principle that every magician follows. Spells, hieroglyphs, and Egyptian magic all rely on Ma'at's stability. When chaos rises, Ma'at cracks first. From the feather of truth to laws that shape civilization, Ma'at is the goddess who proves that great power isn't loud, but sometimes it's a quiet balance that keeps the world from falling apart. If you enjoyed when the Nile rises and the waters churn, one god stands at the edge of life and death. In Egyptian mythology, that force was Sobek, the crocodile-headed deity of strength, protection, and unpredictable power of the river itself. Sobek wasn't a gentle god like you'd think. Well, I guess you wouldn't think of that when you think of a crocodile, but yeah, so not gentle. He embodied the raw primal energy of the Nile, a river that gave Egypt life, and the crocodiles that guarded its banks. Depicted with the head of a crocodile and the body of a man, Sobek represented ferocity, instinct, and the untamed side of nature. He was worshipped for protection, fertility, and military strength. I mean, a crocodile, that's a pretty powerful animal. So, yeah, you would probably want that kind of strength by your side. He wasn't chaos. He was survival. Sobek's domain was the Nile itself. Its floods brought fertile soil, crops, and prosperity, but also destruction, drowning, and the lurking threat of crocodiles. Sobek embodied both sides of the spectrum. He could bless land with abundance and or unleash the river's fury. His temples were built near water, where crocodiles were kept and honored as living symbols of his presence. They kept living crocodiles in the temples. What? Sobek wasn't just a nature god. He was a fierce protector of the pharaoh and the Egyptian people. In battle, Sobek was for strength, courage, and unstoppable force. His scales represented resilience. His eyes, always watching, reminded Egyptians that danger could strike from any place, even below, at any moment. Sobek didn't offer comfort. He offered power. In the King Chronicles, he appears as a dangerous, unpredictable force. He challenges the Cain siblings to a brute strength battle, rather than cunning, embodying the same primal energy that was found in ancient myth. Just as the ancient stories, Sobek is reminded that nature isn't always gentle, but it's always essential. From the depths of the Nile to the heart of Egyptian warfare, Sobek proves that survival isn't about calm waters. It's about respecting the power beneath them. From crocs to cats, today we're going to be talking about Bastet, the Egyptian goddess of protection, joy, and feline chaos. Daughter of Ra, often depicted as a lioness or a domestic cat, is also confused with Sekhmet, which I'll get into eventually. The dual nature of a fierce lioness and softened cat goddess is a very confusing one, but yeah. Bastet was originally Ra's defender, fighting off against the serpent Apophis, so that Ra didn't get attacked when he was in a solar bark. Cats were seen as sacred because any cat could be the host of Bastet. Or I'm gonna call her Bast because that's what I've seen her as in the King Chronicles stories. That's where I normally see her, so I might call her that. She has cat imagery and sistrum, which is a magical instrument, and protective amulets even. She represents balance, ferocity when needed, and gentleness in daily life. Bastet is often referenced in fantasy and myth games such as Cat Goddess. Imagine worshiping a cat goddess and then realize you have the same energy as your house cat. Like, that's kind of crazy though, like, honestly. King Chronicles, Bast, as she's called, is literally a cat guardian, playful but deadly when provoked. And she is also takes the host form of Sadie's cat, Muffin. Yep. He saw Muffin. Yeah. I had a funny blooper with the word muffin earlier, so I'll just roll that clip now. He oversaw muffin. Bastet shows us that divine power isn't always about destruction. Sometimes it's about joy, music, and a little bit of chaos. Today, we're going to be tackling Egypt's split personality god, Hathor and Sekhmet. Hathor was the goddess of love, fertility, music, and motherhood, whereas on the opposite spectrum, Sekhmet was the goddess of war, destruction, and divine punishment. Two aspects of Ra's daughter, gentle cow versus fierce lioness. Humans angered Ra, he unleashes Sekhmet. Sekhmet nearly wipes out humankind with her bloodlust. Ra tricks her with red beer, dyed to look like blood. She gets drunk and calms down and transforms into Hathor. Dual wrath and mercy, destruction and joy. Symbolism. Hathor has cow horns, sistrum, nurturing presence. Sekhmet, a lion head, and solar disc, an unstoppable force. Together they balance chaos and harmony. In the King Chronicles, Bast jokes about Sekhmet's destructive side, while Hathor's gentleness is often referenced in Egyptian lore. Modern fantasy also uses the archetypes of two sides of the same goddess, because she's kind of like two sides of the same coin. Imagine your mom turning into a lioness when you misbehave, and then calming down with a drink and singing, and basically that's Hathor and Sekhmet in a nutshell. Hathor and Sekhmet prove that divine power can both be nurturing and terrifying. When the world was still unshaped, one God spoke, and creation began. That God was Ta. In Egyptian mythology, Ta was a master craftsman, divine architect, and the voice that built reality itself. Ta wasn't a warrior or a trickster. He was the god of artisans, builders, and makers. Anyone that creates anything, like content creators. Every hand that shaped Egypt's temples, statues, and pyramids were Ta's hands. Depicted as a man wrapped in a tight shroud, holding a staff with that combined power, stability, and life. Ta embodied calm precision, where other gods rule storms and bloodshed. Ta ruled the workshop, a place where chaos became order. As you know, if you've seen a workshop, you know how chaotic it can be, but the problem project is always amazing. Ta's most iconic power was speech. You're probably thinking, can't all gods speak? But no, his speech was creating things. Every god, every temple, every living thing was created by Ta. Ta was worshipped in Memphis. No, not that Memphis. Memphis, Egypt. Yeah, it was. There's a city in both books named Memphis. Cool. It was Egypt's great city builders, from colossal statues to intricate jewelry. Ta's spirit within every creation. Even today, Ta feels like an original maker. The one turns ideas into reality long before 3D printers existed. Yep. If you want to see my 3D printing content, go check that out. Like, uh, yeah, go subscribe so you can don't miss the next arc of this channel. In King Chronicles, Ta appears as a quiet but powerful figure, a god of creation. His presence is felt in every crafted object. Just like in myth, Ta isn't chaos, he is the blueprint behind all of it. From temples in Memphis to words that shape the cosmos, Ta remains the god who proves creation is the greatest power of all. If you enjoyed this journey into Egyptian mythology, subscribe. Guys, if you enjoyed this mythology arc, then let me know if I should bring it back as a Greek arc or another.